because apart from, the interest I had in it, way back in medical school, I knew my interest was more in surgery, but I didn't like surgery because I thought it brought too much, that kind of thing. And seeing interventional radiology, I just said, this is it. So now when I got to the senior registrar appointment in Newcastle, I told them what I wanted right at the interview. I said, oh yes, we know, we understand, we'll give it to because of your experience, you need to subspecialize. And we agreed that they gave me the senior registrar post. But when I resumed, they broke that agreement and pushed me to general radiology. And I said, this is not what I asked for. I have all this experience already. I don't need to relieve it. So they said, take it or leave it. I said, I'm not taking it and I'm not leaving it, but I will be an interventional radiologist because they have 2 arms, the subspecialist part, if you want to be an MRI expert, if you want to be an interventional radiologist expert, the kind of path you follow. So they put all sorts of barriers in my way. But in the meantime, I was scouting around the world. And in the process of scouting around the world, I discovered that actually one of the best places in the world for interventional training, radiology training, was in Toronto, Canada. So one day I just picked up the phone and phoned the director and said to him, pointing blank, that as you can hear from my voice, I'm not English, I'm not white, I'm a black African. But I want to come to your place to do interventional radiology. So I kept quiet. He said, okay, send me your CV. I sent him my CV, and he now said, okay, we will have to conduct an interview over the phone for you, but I have to send 5 references. 5 references? Okay, fine. I looked for 5 references and sent to them. And this gentleman who I've never met before, and don't forget, this is a center that has applicants from all parts of the world applying to do the fellowship program in interventional radiology. It's usually for 1 year, So he was keeping me updated of the processes, who they've interviewed, their own candidates, and then what decisions were made. Then for a period of 2-3 months, I didn't hear from him. So I felt maybe no case. Then one day, this time, don't forget, like I said, I was doing locum, so my family was in one place, and I was traveling the length and breadth of London, and this time I was in Newcastle. So I had come down to London for the weekend, and when I got home, my wife told me that Dr. Castle is the name of the program director, had phoned to say that they had given me a place to come and do my fellowship training in Toronto General Hospital. And in addition to that is another 6 months for what we call cross-sectional imaging, that is CT and MRI. So I had 18 months fellowship, and they were going to pay me. In the meantime, my UK people where I was were sending the white chaps across to America and paying their salary where they couldn't get paid posts there. So he now said to me that he would put the letter of offer in the post that day and I should get it during the week. The week went by, I didn't get the letter. So something clicked in my mind that somebody might have accosted the letter because he posted the letter to the department. This is over 25 years ago. As we speak, I'm yet to receive that letter. Because when that clicked in my mind that somebody might have accosted that letter And I phoned him back. I haven't received this letter, but gave my home address. Now I have 21 days to accept, because if you don't accept, you give the offer to somebody else. So I phoned and said, I haven't received your letter. So I said, okay, I put a copy in the post to you and to our house in London, and I got it within the week. And after getting that letter, I now told my head of department, thank you. Thank God I've gotten a place to do my fellowship in Canada. They were up in arms that they were not going to allow me to go. Now, if I insist on going, I had to resign my senior registrar appointment. And anybody who is a Mercy will know at that time that when you resign like that, to come back to join the system was going to be an uphill task. So the regional director, my head of the department, said I was going to go. I said, I will go. I'm going to go. And I'm just actually even still paraphrasing the law that happened. Because at some point they told me that they gave me a post and I wasn't grateful. And I'm complaining. I said, I'm not complaining. I'm just asserting my rights. If I didn't tell you what I want, and I waited until some other time, you say I didn't tell you. So I'm in a catch-22 situation. I have a right to determine what I want to be. So, but they said, well, I will have to resign. I said, I'm not resigning. So they said, the head of the department now said, okay, they will have to convene a meeting of all the heads of department, what they call the Senior Register Committee. We consist about 15 professors and heads of department for them to deliberate to allow me to go and improve myself. Something that they readily encourage their own children white to do. So I said, fine, I'll face them. In the meantime, I had sent the letter of offer to the Royal College, and they wrote to congratulate me on getting that offer. So come this day, these people, lo and behold, gathered together, about 15 of them. It was like, no sitting, no standing space, It's like, who is this man causing so much trouble? And they asked me questions, and the first question was, your head of department says you cannot go. Why are you insisting on going? And I asked, is there anything wrong in improving myself? He said no. I said, you've sent others to go and paid for them. I'm not asking you to pay for me. You are just going to employ somebody to fill my gap. I'm paying my salary that you pay my assistant registrar. Although the fellowship I'm getting there is much less than my fellowship here. I mean, than my salary here in the UK. But it's a stipend. It will keep me going. So they now asked me, have you gotten permission from the college? I said, yes. There's a letter of congratulations from the college. So they now sent me out of the room. And after 5 minutes, I have to come back. Okay, you can go. I said, thank you very much. I'll be back after the fellowship. And after the fellowship, and that period in Canada was probably one of the best professional periods of my life. I learned so much. I made some good friends there and became richly empowered. And honestly, at that time, my desire was that when I'll come back, make my mark. But when I was in Canada, my supervisor there did everything he could to persuade me to stay in Canada. I said, no, I've emigrated once to England from Nigeria. I'm not going to emigrate again. Now, considering some challenges one has seen in the UK, I think that's probably one of not so good decisions in my life, because I think if I stayed in Canada, I would have enjoyed and better money, let me put it that way. But that's history. Anyway, came back to the UK. And when I came back to the UK, there was a job advertised in one of the major teaching hospitals in the UK, which fitted my CV perfectly. And as is customary, when you go for a consultant post, you go to visit the department beforehand. And I went, and the head of the department was so delighted that my CV was custom made for them. And at that time, like I said, there were not too many people doing fellowship overseas. It was something that was just coming up, even amongst the white. In fact, we used to call it BTA, been to America, you know, that kind of thing. So he said, this is perfect for them, that this is a job that will suit me and will suit them. But you now have to speak to other consultants that you'll be working with outside of radiology. But when I met one or two of this one, I knew there would be a problem because of the attitude. To cut the long story short, they didn't even bother shortlisting me for the interview. But the head of the department was so disappointed that he wrote a profuse letter of apology to me about what happened. Because what subsequently happened was that they now actually appointed somebody on what we call a proleptic appointment, i.e. he hasn't had the training, but they will keep the job for him to allow him to go and have the training. He actually went to Australia to have the training, which I've already had, and kept the job for him to come back and fill that post. But eventually, my consultant post, substantive consultant post with interventional radiology input, came up in London, because this other hospital was in Leeds. Came up in London, where my family is, and I wanted anyway to come back to the southeast. So came back and started and developed the interventional radiology department in one of the hospitals in London. By the time I left, it had grown so big that there were now 5 interventional radiologists in the department. In the meantime, my passion for Nigeria was there.
Thank you very much for such an elaborate, insightful background of your journey on the pathway of your medical career. It's a known fact, which you were alluding to, your passion for Nigeria. It's something that we all know. Share with us what really has been the basis of such passion. What has inspired such passion? Because your passion is quite infectious, Professor Obaro. Share with us.
Don't forget, at the start, I said, I'm a very proud black man. And for that matter, a proud Nigerian. Something I didn't actually mention earlier was that at some point, even in my radiology training, some people advised me to change my accent in order to fit more with the environment, so that will help my career. And I said, change my accent? That's my identity. I will not change my accent. Another consultant, so concerned, I will say, actually asked me whether my wife was white. I said, no, she's Nigerian. She said, it might help if I married a white woman. I said, my wife and I quarrel from time to time, but there is no way on earth I'm going to divorce her because of career. She's too precious to me. She's been by my side. We have weathered the storm together. So, like my son once told me, he was born in Scotland, but whenever Scotland and England are playing football in those days, even though we've settled in England, he will be supporting Scotland. So I said, why do you keep supporting Scotland when you are in England? He said, Dad, that's where my placenta is buried. My placenta is buried in Nigeria. And I believe passionately that nobody, I've never seen any country in this world that has been developed by another country. The only countries that have been developed by people from other countries are the Western countries that took our people as slaves to them. But as a matter of national policy, no country is developed by any other country. Other countries exploit other countries, from the superpowers to everything. So if Nigerians don't develop Nigeria, who will develop it? No matter what I achieve as an individual, I feel diminished. I feel diminished by an undeveloped country.
This brings me to my next question in line with your passion. Some 20 odd years ago, you were instrumental in setting up the pioneer body for Nigerian medical professionals in the United Kingdom, the body called MANSANG. Can you just give us some background and how that came about?
Yeah, you find just maybe about 4 or 5 people, the same people gathering up together to have a meeting. So I said, no, this can't be it. We can do better. So I now called one of my old medical schoolmates in ABU in those days, I said, look, we need to form a medical association that will encompass Nigerians. What we have in this Nigerian Medical Forum is not fit for purpose. So after I spoke to him, he now gathered some people together in his town where he is, and they convened a meeting and kind of had a first meeting there, to nurture this idea. That first meeting, I wasn't there, but it happened. But the subsequent meeting, they came over to London, we had a meeting, and then that body kind of said, okay, we'll form this body. And actually, at that time, I didn't want to be in the committee. But one of our professors back home in ABU, then, who was around, insisted I have to be on the committee. Because when those people met in the town, I think I want to keep that quiet, where they met, they had kind of more or less constituted an executive already, even though I had not tried the idea. But that didn't bother me. I just wanted the body to fight our cause in the UK. Because as a black people, and seeing what we've been through, we need a body to protect us. We need a body to allow us to exchange ideas, to support one another, to encourage one another. So when that has happened, I said, I don't need to be on the committee, but this my professor, who's deceased now, I mean, so rest in peace, said no, because he'd known me from back in ABU, and actually my medical activism, if I may say so, started real back from university. So he said, no, Olu, you have to be on the committee. So I assumed the position of PRO, but then the next election for president came up. I then became the president then. And now, having become the president, that gave me a more leeway to drive the agenda. And I'm very grateful to God for that opportunity, because I believe I was able to really galvanize the medical community. And beyond that, the fallout was also the other Nigerian professional bodies, associate or individual, saw what the doctors were doing and said, now we can do the same thing. So you now find that the lawyers also got together, the accountants got together and formed their own body, which became viral, and eventually the need for us to be able to work together now became more embedded in our mind. We still have a long way to go. But it's great to see how the body has grown over the years and making big impacts in the UK and engaging with official bodies in the UK and also with official bodies in Nigeria. A lot more could be achieved, particularly from the Nigeria end, if we had a more receptive government And apart from MASAG, as you may well know, I've been involved in the diaspora community. I was the first, I was the secretary of the healthcare subcommittee at the inception of NIDO itself, the NIDO as we see it, and was the first chairman of NIDO UK South, and actually had the privilege of introducing the bill to create a diaspora commission many years ago with Ambassador Kishi. That's about 50 years ago. Himself and myself presented the first bill to the Nigerian Senate, to establish the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. It's a history that probably many people are not aware of, but I had that singular privilege. So the drive has been on so many scores, on so many fronts, because I just believe as a country, as a people, we are not mobilizing ourselves well enough.
Your role within the community has been nothing short of legendary. And on this path of such passion, you and your wife embarked on a major project, a multi-billion naira project, to set up a stroke rehabilitation center in Nigeria. The project would have been a source of help to countless, but you did encounter challenges along the way. Can you share with us your experience and how you were able to overcome those challenges?
It's one of the saddest chapters of my life and my wife. The stroke center is a combination of several other attempts we've made to interfere in the healthcare sector in Nigeria. We've always prepared ourselves to go back to Nigeria. My wife is a trained midwife. She's a trained pediatric nurse. And as part of her preparation to go back to Nigeria, she also did training in ultrasound. That's many years ago. We've made several interventions and medical missions in particular, not small ones, big ones, which we've organized over the years and donated medical equipment, I dare say by God's grace, through our own personal resources, which we believe we've been blessed by God and given the opportunity to do. But we are determined to go back and do something permanently. We've made other efforts which have been sabotaged by people. Time will not allow us to go into that mess, but my father, from what I learned, died of a heart attack because he wasn't ill. I just got a phone call that he was dead. My wife's father had a stroke, and in the course of, and he survived for about 4 years after this first stroke, and we had to be managing him from here. So we saw the huge problem, a lot of which are basic problems. So when you connect heart attack and stroke, there's a common factor. The blood vessel is what is involved in both. To put it mildly,